All right, man. We are live, man. This is your guy, Manny. And then we got Tommy Taylor in the building. And then we have Derrell Sheelor in the building as well. We got Sheelor, we got Razman, and we got Manny. And this is Sheelor. What podcast is this?
This is literally the Dynasty Overload Podcast. What's
Let's
happening,
get it,
y'all?
man.
Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, episode one, man. So Sheelor, man, what made you want to do this podcast? Let's start with you.
So here's the deal, man. So for me, being in the Dynasty space, I've been in it for some years now, and I feel like my approach and the way I even look at things is very different from a lot of people. So I think just kind of getting that out there, kind of just going away from the conventional thinking, really just being able to provide a different perspective on things, I think is always needed because a lot of times you hear the same stuff everywhere you go. And then, of course, the collaboration with the two of you all makes it super exciting for me. So excited to be here, excited to work with y'all, excited to really just share our knowledge with everybody.
Awesome. Tommy, what about you?
You know what? Honestly, what made me want to do it is really, I was inspired by you two. I know that I think differently about a lot of different stuff. I come at things with my own angle, and I'm newer to the dynasty scene than you two are. But I know that I have my own way of doing things. And then you guys, I'm seeing you guys, and I'm like, these guys are like me. They think outside the box. They don't really follow trends. They do whatever they're doing, and competing against you guys excites me. You know, I'm very competitive, but I also want to compete against great players. I don't want to compete against people that are sorry. That it doesn't interest me. So yeah, I'm intrigued by you guys. I want to learn from you guys, and I also want to share some of the things and concepts that I'm thinking of, and just see where that lands. And I think a lot of people will be interested in it.
All right, good deal, man. And for me, the reason why I wanted to get involved in the podcast is, first of all, I couldn't find people that I can trust to host with. And, when Sheelor came along and Tommy was like, hey, man, let's do this thing. I was like, man, why not, man? It's time. It's time. And me and Tommy have done so many different fantasy stuff together from starts and sits and things of that nature. I've had Sheelor come on the show a few times, talk some fantasy, talk some commanders. So, man, it was just a great pairing just to kind of get this thing going. And sky's the limit, man. I don't know where this episode goes, but title of the episode is I Told You So. It's going to be a great episode tonight. So I wanted to kick things off with the current events, right? So the first event I want to talk about is Tom Brady retires. Do we trust that Tom Brady is actually retired, or do you think that he's going to come back? Because last year he did retire February 1st. This year he's retiring February 1st. So I'm going to go to Sheelor on this one, then I'm going to go to Tommy. So Sheelor, do you think that Tom Brady is actually retired?
Man, no. Tom gave up too much to be playing, man. You know how this go, man. Now, what I expect is for him to take this time off, go ahead and relax. He gonna go longer than 30 days this time. But I think what you see is right towards the end of free agency, that phone start ringing. Once we see a Derek Carr traded, oh, Josh McDaniels, I would love to have you out here, in Las Vegas throwing to Devontae Adams. We just re-signed Josh Jacobs. We're going to give him the rock, and we got a sweet thing going on here for you. And before you know it, Tommy to packed his bags and headed to Vegas, man. So, no, I don't believe it for 1 second. I can't take him seriously. I didn't take him seriously last year. In fact, I picked him up a lot of places last year. So I'm trying to see if I can grab him right now because I believe by May 1st, we got a change of heart, and Tom Brady is back in black and silver.
All right, I'm going to let Tommy talk. While you're talking, I'm going to pull up the video. The video seems so fake, talking about I've used up all my tears last year, and I don't want to use up no more tears this year, blah, blah. So, Tommy, man, what do you think?
For one, I didn't see the video. Wasn't that interested. I do like Brady. I respect Brady. I think he's done with one caveat. The one caveat being Patriots kind of get something going, make it to the playoffs, and maybe the quarterback gets hurt, and the Patriots need a savior. I didn't think Tom could come in then and want to drive the ship home. But I think he's too much of a control freak. And I think that's one of the reasons that one of the problems with Tampa this year was that he was gone for that time. He was gone. Then he come back and he had so much going on. He lost his wife. So I don't believe he'll be back by May 1st. I believe he'll give the whole summer to trying to get his wife back. And if she's not back by the time, somebody gets hurt, then I think he might get a little itch and he might start thinking about it. But I also think that if it's not a familiar situation for him, he's not going. So I think his situation have to be perfect.
What? So you think that Tom is like, baby, please come back, baby, please?
Yeah.
Or because, the whole situation with the family, I get it. It's really important. And, that was part of the reason to come back. But then he was free again. So he said, hey, let's play some football. So I really don't think he's done. I don't think he left on his own terms. I'm going to go ahead and play the video real quick.
Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring for good. When I woke up this morning, I figured let you long-winded. You only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used to hang up last year. You guys, to every one of you for supporting me, my friends, my teammates, my competitors. I could go on forever. There's too many. Absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. Love you all.
So, guys, man, I don't know, man. It kind of looked real, but then I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't see the video.
Either way it goes,
he's done.
Tom Brady is going to do Tom Brady
He's
things.
Done. He was way too peaceful.
Doc. Did you hear that? He said he wouldn't change a thing. I don't think he tried to get the family back. He I wouldn't change a thing. Y'all heard that?
He just mad because she with the
he coming
she
back.
with the trainer. She on vacation with the trainer right now. He a little salty about
real
that.
Talk.
Oh,
it's
no.
a wrap.
Oh no! All right, so outside of Tom Brady, we had other things happen in current events. DeMeco Ryans heads to Houston. Now, Sheelor lives in Houston, right? So you got to let us know, man. Is DeMeco Ryans going to come out there to Houston and change the dynamics of this team? He's known for he's a defender, right? He's a defensive guy. So here is my question for the both of you. I don't care who goes first. So if Ryans goes there, right, and he picks his offensive coordinator gets to pick the quarterback. Who do you guys think the quarterback is going to be? I'll start off with Sheelor, and then I'll kick it over to Tommy.
So here's the problem, right? So being here in Houston, this is now the third minority coach hired in 3 seasons.
Okay.
2 of them are one and done. So now we bring in DeMeco. Now, I'm hoping that it's going to be different, right? For a couple reasons. One, I think he's up and coming. I think he's brilliant at what he does. I think the defense played very inspired. Outside of a few games last year, that defense literally had them competing in a lot of games. So I think he has some different things to work with in the toolbox. Now, as far as quarterback goes, I'm really not sure. I think they're going to do their evaluation process. They have the number 2 pick in the draft. So for my money, I would actually go with C.J. Stroud as the right quarterback for them at number 2. That's where I would kind of go with. I think the accuracy piece, he's the safest quarterback in the draft, in my opinion. So for me, C.J. Stroud will be my choice to actually kind of pick in. I think he gives them some of the Deshaun Watson characteristics that they're looking for, as far as like being able to be mobile, but then still being able to stand up in the pocket. I don't like the size on Bryce Young. Scares me. Looks like a Kyler Murray clone a little bit, which y'all know I'm not a Kyler Murray fan. And then I'm really not a big fan of Will Levis. So my choice will be C.J. Stroud for Texans quarterback.
Tommy, what about you?
Let's go back to the coaches, right? D'Amico Ryans. So let's start. There was 3 black coaches, correct? But those other coaches have a story behind them, right? Because D'Amico was the only coach actually hired to coach the team. The other 2 coaches, the one was hired because Deshaun wanted a black coach, and that was the one I guess they liked the most. But they only hired him to keep Deshaun, to make Deshaun happy. When Deshaun wasn't happy, there's no point in having that guy, I forget his name, and I apologize for not knowing his name. So there's no reason to have him anymore, so they got rid of him. But then it looked so bad that it looked so racist that they was just like, all right, well, let's get another black coach. And it was like, and honestly, Lovey was just the token black coach that they had there, to kind of make up for how bad a job that looked like. But they also hired somebody that was easy to fire, and he was put in a lose-lose situation. Like, honestly, what was Lovey supposed to do? I mean, the defense looked great, looked okay, and the offense was terrible. But you hired a defensive coach. I mean, what was the point? Regardless of that, of course, they was going to get rid of him. I think D'Amico only got the job. They was past the black quota. I think D'Amico got the job because he actually earned the job. I think when he went for his interview, he actually earned the job. And I think people were very impressed. And I'm impressed by D'Amico. If you follow his career at all, I think that he was okay. Yeah, you're right. But if you follow his career, D'Amico Ryan's career, he was always an overachiever. That's something I liked about Mike Vrabel here. I actually hated Mike Vrabel as a player, but I'm a Titans fan. But here in Tennessee, Mike Vrabel was always an overachiever. He always got more out of himself than the talent he actually had, and that's D'Amico Ryan's. And everywhere you've been, if you see his resume, he always gets more out of himself than the talent he actually has. So that actually scares me because I hate the Texans. But I think that D'Amico Ryan will have a good career there. I do. They're still going to suck.
I've seen where people are saying Will Levis to the Texans. I'm like, oh man, no. I want to see Bryce Young to the Texans. If Will Levis goes first overall, all that does is drive the hype up. It makes him valuable in Superflex drafts to where you can draft him at 3 to 5 range, because that's where I'm taking him, and then I'm selling. I want nothing to do with Will Levis. Not saying that he's going to be a bad quarterback. I'm just saying if he's going 101, he has a draft capital. So with that draft capital, you got the power to draft him between that 3 to 5 range, or you can say 1 to 5 range. Somebody crazy will take him 1 overall. I'm not. Bijan Robinson is the pick. Okay, so all that does is just makes things better for fantasy. We know that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are the guys, right? So they're already top 5 picks, right? Now you add this guy being 1 overall. It reminds me of the year that Baker Mayfield got drafted 1st overall. Did he deserve it? Probably not. He came out of nowhere.
Quick question, though. This is a question. Is for dynasty purposes, Bijan is 1 overall.
Okay.
And redraft, who are you taking?
Redraft, I'm taking like a guy. I'm taking a vet. It's redraft. Like, I'm not taking any of these rookies 1st overall in a redraft league.
I'm talking about out of the rookies.
Out of the rookies, it's still Bijan for me.
It's still Bijan. I think in redraft, because I think what you're looking at is, literally what you see is the impact of that type of running back walking into the league. Like a lot of times when we see peak fantasy performance, it's literally by those rookie backs. You got to go back to the Ezekiel Elliott rookie year. Phenomenal pick, right? You go back to the Barkley rookie year. This guy's on that talent wavelength. For you to be able to say, hey, in a super flex league, literally, I'm going running back over quarterback, and you got viable quarterback prospects. Literally, from a dynasty standpoint, from the second he gets drafted, as long as he's healthy, he is the dynasty 101 as far as running back goes.
Undisputed.
So if we're doing redraft,
dynasty,
it's undisputed.
Okay, dynasty. Check this out. In
redraft now.
Redraft. Remember the year that Saquon came out, the year that Barkley came out. Both of them, they came out different years, right? Or was it the same year? Came out different years.
Different years.
I think 1 year apart. All right. So what I'm going to tell you guys is that year I took Saquon Barkley late first round, right? Let's say pick 8 or pick 9 or whatever it was. I take Saquon. Then on the wraparound, I take CMC in year 2. This is redraft. I end up trading for Joe Mixon, and I run the tables. I lost the first game of the season and the last game of the season, which was in the championship. So these rookie backs that people don't value, if you're getting the right guy, like if Bijan is going to have that first round capital.
Getting the right guy.
He's going to have the first round capital, right? So he's going to be a guy that I target. I will look. I might be able to take this guy in the top 9 picks of the that's just me. Because if the value's there, if I'm on the end, you can see me with a Bijan Robinson and then get another top tier back if I choose to go that route. Or I might take Eckler, and there's going to be a league that you're in that people don't believe in Bijan Robinson. They don't believe in the situation, right? Maybe Bijan goes to a bad situation like Kenneth Walker did. And then we always know one thing is that these rookies ball out towards the end of the year. It happens every single year. You get these guys, you sit on them, and then they hatch towards the last 7 weeks of the season. That's just me. That's just me. But moving along, we got Sean Payton to the Denver Broncos. I felt they paid a hefty price. This is a guy that did not want to be with the Saints, and the Broncos paid a first this year and a second next year. Woo. Thoughts, Tommy?
My thoughts is this. We're gonna see 2 things, right? We're gonna see if it was Sean Payton or if it was Drew Brees. We're gonna finally see the difference, right? Was it Sean Payton? Was it Drew Brees? Because Drew Brees, before he left San Diego, he was starting to have an uptick before he hurt that arm. And the real reason that people wasn't giving him that real good look is because they was worried about his shoulder or whatever it was that he had injured. Sean Payton got him, and hey, Bob's your uncle, right? So we want to see, I want to see, what was it? But I do like this because I do believe that Sean Payton is good at as an offense. I'm loving this for Judy. Somebody sent me a trade for Sutton, right after the coach got hired. Some trades out here for Sutton before I could even see the news. Good thing I was slow on the.
He almost got
Good thing I was slow on hitting the trade.
I had an idea who that was too.
He almost got, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and because Sean Payton goes there and instantly the offense, rises to another level. So listen, I'm hype about it. I believe that it, 1 should be 2, right? But we'll see because if Sean Payton really ain't that, or if Russ looked pretty good at the end of the year last year. But if Russ has really regressed, we'll see. And the other thing is, honestly, will this make Nathaniel Hackett look terrible if they have offensive success and say that the Jets don't get it right at the quarterback position and they're looking a little stagnant? Does Nathaniel Hackett get fired? Is he looked at as not the guy? Because that'll be a real black eye on that.
Hey, you made a great point with Hackett. I'm gonna have Sheelor talking. We're also gonna talk about Hackett. I think that Aaron Rodgers ends up on the Jets. Hey, this is the second time as a charm. Garrett Wilson to the moon. Aaron Rodgers, Elijah Moore. Me and Sheelor has been talking about this for a while. With the whole Sutton thing, we were talking, we were scheming. We're like, hey, if Sean Payton goes here, we should go and buy this player, this player, this player. So I've been purchasing Sutton, and in the draft, I knew I should have taken Sutton over the younger Mooney, but I don't know why I didn't listen to my gut. The pick was supposed to be Sutton because we knew that there was a possibility that the Broncos will get Sean Payton. But the funny thing is, the Broncos did try to hire DeMeco Ryans twice. And when it fell through for the second time, boom, they go ahead and get Sean Payton. And if Sean Payton was your backup plan, why is it so expensive? That's all I'm saying. But, Sheelor, talk to me.
So listen, Sean Payton is not just an offensive mind. Sean Payton is a coaching genius. Have y'all not forgotten the Super Bowl? Comes out, kicks the onside kick, and literally changes the game, changes the trajectory.
Yeah.
Now, Drew Brees was a quarterback that they had given up on. And I also want to go ahead and give context in terms of the situation that they walked in. They walk in together in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina comes through. The city's ravaged. The metro, the whole stadium's messed up. Everything is going crazy. And they go ahead and start implementing piece by piece, brick by brick. They go draft a Reggie Bush. Because this is the whole story, y'all. Y'all got to see this thing. This is personnel, right? I was listening yesterday to Colin Cowherd's show. What was great is Sean Payton is regularly a guest there. So as he's a guest, he starts talking about Patrick Mahomes being the best workout he's ever seen and how they try to slide in and slide out without anybody even knowing they were there. And unfortunately for him, what ended up happening was the Chiefs come make this massive draft trade, and they get in front of him to go ahead and grab what he had already seen was coming.
Oh, wow.
So all I want to tell y'all is this. Sean Payton's the real deal. When you have an elite coach that also has the motivation factors, and you already have the offensive mind with it being an offensive league, that is a home run hit. He's going to get the best out of Russell Wilson. Literally. I'm buying Russell Wilson everywhere I can from a fantasy perspective. And everybody that's on the Sutton piece, I definitely believe that he's talented. But what I love on that team that nobody's talking about right now is Tim Patrick. He got hurt last year. Best hands on the team. Consistent. Outside of the knee injury that he had this past year, you can count on the guy. Sutton disappears for me too much. Doesn't get separation. Can't really trust him. So for me, I'm all in on the Sean Payton piece. I'm definitely all in on the Javonte Williams. I'm looking for a pass-catching back coming over there as well, because that's definitely somebody I want. Historically, Payton has actually utilized multiple backs, whether it's Aaron Sproles, whether it's Anthony Thomas back in the day. Of course,
I expect him to draft somebody.
And that guy named Alvin Kamara, who he found in the third round. So just give him some time, Doc. I believe that Sean Payton is about to change some things and shake some stuff up over in the AFC West.
Well, let me go ahead and add my little piece to it. So I'm glad that I was buying Russell Wilson. I drafted Russell Wilson right on time, and you're going to see his ADP skyrocket. I don't have the ADP right in front of me, but it's going to skyrocket from whatever it is right now. So you got Jerry Jeudy, you got Sutton. I still like Sutton. I am buying Tim Patrick because he's dirt cheap right now. Like you said, you can say Sutton, Tim Patrick, they're the same. One is younger, but we'll see what happens. And I also believe they add another guy in free agency or the draft. It's going to be a sneaky draft. There's some wide receivers that nobody's talking about that's going to fall through the cracks. And Broncos, I can see them adding two pieces, a running back, like you said, a pass-catching running back in this deep running back draft, as well as a wide receiver. But the most interesting thing is Russell Wilson is a guy that nobody believes in right now, and he's so cheap to purchase prior to this news. But what I'm seeing is people are saying, oh, Russell Wilson's trash, and he's this and he's that. Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. Let's not get it twisted. That whole Hackett thing, like Tommy says, it wasn't working. You might say, oh, Russell Wilson is a system quarterback. I tell you this, Sean Payton is going to bring out the right system for Russell Wilson. That's something that Hackett couldn't do. So I'm all in on Russell Wilson. I'm all in on Javonte Williams. I love Javonte Williams even more now, even though I sold him for dirt cheap to Razman in the league. But it's all good. It's all good. So moving on along.
Can I speak on that real quick before we go?
Go ahead.
One thing that I wanted to put in is and this is one of the reasons I wanted to do the podcast with you two, is because me and Manny was talking, and I was telling him, I said, this is like probably like 3 weeks ago, a little bit after the league, the year ended. I said, hey man, to keep it a secret, I said, I'm big on Russell. This is when, this is at the height of Russell. Everybody's like, oh, he had a terrible year. I'm like, yeah, let me see where I can get Russell at. I'm trying to add. I'm into the Denver Broncos. This is before they even had offensive coordinator, because I'm like, one thing I do is I look at history. I'm a proponent for history, and I'm like, all right, I see this, and I see, I get it. There's a whole new situation. I also saw that Russell ended in the top 15 quarterbacks in most leagues. Some of them he was 16th. I'm like, man, this man had a down year. I'm still in the upper half of the and then he's going to get acclimated to that thing. And the other thing you got to pay attention to is contracts. Always pay attention to contracts, because a contract is going to let you know how invested a team is going to be in somebody. Just like Zeke Elliott. So Zeke Elliott's probably going to stay in Dallas for one more year. Always pay attention to the contracts, because no matter what the player is playing like, listen, Russell's going to get 18 more chances. Even if he fails this year, he's going to get another chance next year because of the contract. So I just wanted to add that little tidbit.
That's a great. I mean, that's an excellent point. Like, they can't get out this contract at least for 2 years. I mean, he is stuck. He is married to them. Not only that, the compensation that they paid to get this guy, you got to make it work. Now, this season, let's say he plays the same way he played to start the first half of the season. Something's got to shake. And do not be surprised. Yeah. I think the Broncos are going to draft a quarterback in this draft, late in the draft. A guy to put into your system, a guy to add to your quarterback room. I will not be surprised if you see maybe the kid from Georgia, somebody like that just comes into the fold and just learns behind Russell Wilson. He ain't no spring chicken, man. This guy's 34 years old. But at the end of the day, I think that Russell Wilson still has 4 good to maybe great years left. But speaking of quarterbacks, let's go ahead and move on over to Brock Purdy. He's out for 6 months with a UCL injury. And this is a guy that Sheelor loved so much. I even seen Sheelor purchase this guy for a first-round pick. I seen Sheelor purchasing low. He was smart purchasing low for third-round picks way before all this happened. He saw something. He says, look, my eyes work. So he was all in on Purdy. So I'm going to let him kick this thing off. Talk to us about Brock Purdy and what do you see out of this San Francisco quarterback room? Because Trey Lance, he's going to be ready. He'll be ready for, OTAs. Brock Purdy is going to be coming back like around August. There was rumblings that Tom Brady might go to San Francisco. And then, Trey Lance gets traded to the Titans, blah, blah. So talk to me, Sheelor, about Brock Purdy and what you see out of this young kid.
So here's the deal, right? So Brock Purdy, let me tell you about the hype train, okay? I was a believer when I saw him in the Washington game. There's a play in that game where literally he's scrambling out of the pocket. He got the pass rush on him. He makes like this pirouette type spin, and he throws the ball out of bounds. And when I saw that, I said, oh my, he has the right head intelligence. He can run the system better and more efficiently than what you saw with a Jimmy Garoppolo. And the big thing for me is he's dirt cheap. Everybody likes a good story. The only thing that's better, or the only thing that really can actually fight against somebody that has great draft capital, or someone that actually you paid a lot to actually invest in, as they did in the Trey Lance, is this amazing story of Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft that comes in and goes undefeated. And the reality is the only loss he has, he gets hurt early in the game. So he hasn't had a game where he started and finished that he's actually lost. So when they go back and they look at the film and they go ahead and take a peek at that, it's going to give Trey Lance an opportunity to kind of catch up. But I think what you're looking at from a decision-making standpoint and also the starts, there's way more reps in Brock Purdy than there is in Trey Lance. That was the big problem with Trey Lance coming out. So I still believe in the talent. I think it definitely hurts him with the injury. But the best news for Brock Purdy fans like myself who invested early, invested heavy, the best news is that Tom Brady announced that he's retiring. And I don't see him walking into a San Francisco situation like I can see him easily walking into a Josh McDaniels scenario because he already knows the offense. So for me, Brock Purdy's still my guy. I'm still buying him. I'm definitely trying to buy him very low right now. And as long as I can buy him in that second round, third round range, I'm definitely going to do that all day long. So that's still my guy. So Brock Purdy to the moon.
So what's saving you is that I couldn't pull up the game logs. My rebuttal to everything that you're going to say, and I'm going to pass it over to Tommy, is look, I think that Brock Purdy is a much better NFL quarterback than he is fantasy quarterback. That's just me. But in the Superflex, obviously, there is some love for Brock Purdy as a QB2. Now, when I was looking at the game log, you can see, but I mean, he's a rookie. There's still a chance to grow. So if we're going to say Brock Purdy didn't have amazing numbers, well, you can look at a guy like Kenny Pickett and say, hey, Brock Purdy actually outplayed the first quarterback selected. And this is the last quarterback selected. So, Tommy, I'm going to toss it to you. Do you think that Brock Purdy can be that guy? And what do you think realistically that San Francisco does with a guy like Trey Lance?
I think Brock Purdy definitely can be the guy. I definitely think that. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Brock Purdy, and the thing that I was saying, and this was almost going to be my "I told you so," but since we're talking about it now, it won't be. But thing I was saying is when the Brock Purdy ship was leaving and the rocket was blasting off, I was just like, "Hey, hold your horses. These are too high prices that people are paying for this guy because we've seen it before." Listen, man, we've seen it before. You guys remember that run Josh Johnson went on? You guys remember that run Vince Young went on his rookie year? Mm-hmm. What about remember when
Taylor Heineke?
No, Baker Mayfield. Remember when Baker Mayfield was the greatest thing since sliced bread?
Man.
Listen, you guys remember that Johnny Manziel was out here, moving and shaking? What I'm saying is we've seen the quarterbacks come out, win games, do all these wonderful, fantastic things, go on this run. And then when the NFL adjusted, when people kind of got used to their mechanisms and they really weren't that blue collar person, all of a sudden everything came crashing down. The things that they did that made them low draft picks or people not believing them as quarterbacks, those things ended up rearing their ugly heads. And I think the best thing that could have happened for Brock Purdy fans is for this injury, because now you can buy him low, now or lower. Now you can actually Trey was always going to get a shot. Trey was always going to get a shot. Mm-hmm. But I think this is better because now it puts him in even kill. You don't have to sit there and wonder who's going into it, who's going to be the number one guy. No, buy him low. I think he's a good investment. People buying Trey Lance high, idiots. I mean, let me not say that. It's too strong. Not smart.
Say it.
Not smart. That's a terrible buy. Trey Lance is a terrible buy. I'm not buying Trey Lance. I want to get Brock Purdy. Like, if I'm in a startup, I want to get Brock Purdy like 3 or 4 rounds later. A whole lot cheaper. But I'm still not going to overpay for Brock Purdy because, listen, even if he does end up being the guy next year, if Trey's still there, he's going to have a quick pull, a quick hook. And if things change for him and he's not, still moving and shaking like he was, which is he's going to come back down to earth because Brock Purdy's not the best quarterback in the league. Come on, let's quit. Stop kidding ourselves. When he comes back down to earth,
but Tommy,
quick hook.
Here's the problem, though.
Yeah.
Tommy, here's the problem. In the few startups that I've done so far, yes, I have done startups. We are some Dynasty junkies in here. I've done some startups, and what I'm starting to see is that Trey Lance is going in the 5th round, and then Brock Purdy's going in the 5th, maybe 6th round. So it's like there's no buying Brock Purdy cheap right now. After this injury, obviously his ADP is going to go down a little bit, and it's all about when you do these drafts. So you definitely are going to be able to get a Brock Purdy in the 7th, maybe 8th round if you're lucky. But the Trey Lance in the 5th round, that's crazy to me. I'm sorry. I was talking to somebody. They said, I'd rather just go ahead and draft people that can actually play football first 5 rounds and not, taking these guys too high. But I wanted to transition to the I told you so. This is the part of the show. This is the segment where if you've been saying something for the past couple years and nobody's listening, this is your opportunity to say, hey, I told you so. And after the I told you segment, we're gonna go into the I was wrong about dots. The I told you so. Tommy, who is your first I told you so?
Okay, so my first I told you so is going to be a twofer. I know it's it's kind of cheating, but it's going to be a twofer, and it's going to be Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs. The only reason I went ahead and did both of them because they both play for the same team. Oh, so with Christian Watson, so something happened a long time ago with a certain player that I'm gonna. That actually he wasn't my wrong on, but it was Trey Sermon. I was listening to everybody tell me about Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon had all these great things. But after that Trey Sermon bit me, I started watching film last year for the first time. So I wanted to watch it for myself, see these players that I was drafting. I really wanted to put my eyes on. And what I saw out of Christian Watson really amazed me. What I saw out of Romeo Dobbs, I was like, yo, this guy looks like he could be, a fourth rounder, you know what I'm saying? But somebody that I thought could actually play in the NFL, I was getting Romeo Dobbs in round 4 in the draft. I was getting Romeo Dobbs undrafted in some leagues. I mean, this guy was cheap. And then with Christian Watson, what I did was I traded for a lot of either late first or early seconds. And then people was laughing at me, and I was like, hey, I'm going to turn this into something. Boom, Christian Watson. And I was big on him. I was really big on him. I think both of these guys turned out of course, Romeo Dobbs didn't have the greatest numbers, but I think for somebody that went undrafted, for the potential he has, and Christian Watson, really late first or early second, you're getting them there. I think these are great return on values. These are my I told you so's.
Hey, that's those are pretty good. You had Christian Watson with over 600 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. He had that amazing run to where he was like catching touchdowns at a high clip. Mm-hmm. And then you have Romeo Dobbs, who ended up with 425 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, these are 2 guys that are going to be part of Green Bay for a very long time, regardless of if the quarterback is Jordan Love, whether Aaron Rodgers comes back. You can say, hey, they got 2 guys that are going to start. And then they can just add a third guy to complement everything that they're doing. So those are some pretty good I told you so's in Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs. You tried to tell me about Romeo Dobbs, and I didn't listen. I should have. And when I did listen, it was in Derrell's Fire League that I was able to get Romeo Dobbs at the 402, and Traquan Thornton went at 401. I ended up using Romeo Dobbs in a trade that landed me Breece Hall, Brandon Ayuk, and Rachaad White. So everything works out when you actually pay attention and you use your draft picks wisely. So throughout the show, this is just episode 1. As we have more and more episodes, we're going to be talking to you guys and helping you guys to hit on these late round picks. That's what Tommy does. He collects 4th and 5th round picks like it's Infinity Stones, and he uses those picks to try to hit on as many late rounders as he can. He's a trash collector. He collects the trash, he picks them up, he recycles them, and then he's able to make these guys productive. So, Sheelor, who was your I told you so?
So there was a quarterback that, had all the upside in the world. He was drafted number 1 overall the year before. And what happened was he met a train wreck called Urban Meyer. And what happened is the greatest quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck by the name of Trevor Lawrence was actually discarded. He was, thrown away. Nobody believed in him any longer after having a horrible rookie season under the guidance of one Mr. Urban Meyer. So in every which way I could, shout out to Manny on hooking my brother up on an amazing deal, which I sent him Josh Allen, got this guy, Trevor Lawrence, who finished as quarterback 8 on the year and literally led the Jaguars to the promised land of the playoffs. They're going to be, a problem for many years to come. And he did it with such a, unsavory cast of characters. Somebody named Zay Jones, that he makes look good. Somebody named Evan Ingram that was just thrown away in New York. Somebody named Christian Kirk who got the bag. And everybody was like, how you get the bag? I don't know. But he goes over there with Trevor Lawrence, and now he finishes as wide receiver 11 on the year. So what I'm saying is, I told y'all so. Trevor is him. He's been him since college. He was him as a freshman at Clemson. He was him never losing the game on Saturdays until this playoff game that he lost. But it's no harm in losing to the Chiefs. But that being said, he gets Calvin Ridley next year. If you can buy him anywhere,
those are all
buy
points.
and Trevor Lawrence. I told y'all.
Good stuff.
Hey, all excellent points. I know that me and Tommy's talked about Trevor Lawrence so many times. We're not going to spend too much time on Trevor, but I've always said he's a real deal. I mean,
Trash.
The likes of Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, all these guys had career highs in reception. Just imagine when he adds more weapons. They're going to continue. And look, we all like Mayer, right? The Jacksonville Jags draft Mayer, and if they do, okay, we're back. We were kicked off a little bit. Then they had another super wide receiver or another running back to pair with ETN. Sky's the limit for this offense. And with Tommy, I told you so. Trevor Lawrence is going to be something. He might never be a great or whatever, but he's going to be good, and he's going to terrorize that division for years to come.
Okay.
Now, my turn for my I told you so. This guy was a running back that came from Alabama. This was a guy that people were telling me, go and get Zamir White. Zamir White is coming to knock this guy out and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, we're going to get to you. We're going to get to you. And Josh Jacobs, all he did was go crazy. He's going to command the bag. And even if, let's say, for example, that nobody pays him. Let's say Vegas does not pay this guy. He's going to get paid somewhere. You know, he ended up as the RB3 in PPR leagues. This guy was amazing. He had enough run. I mean, he had rushing yards this year. He had my graphic went away. We'll get back to it, but he was an amazing running back this year. He won me literally a few leagues. I have lots of Josh Jacobs shares. Matter of fact, the best trade that I made for Josh Jacobs this year was I was minding my business, and a guy wanted TJ Hawkinson. He sent me Josh Jacobs and Evan Ingram. And thanks to Trevor Lawrence, he made me not only win this deal, with Josh Jacobs and TJ Hawkinson, I'm already winning. Even in a tight end premium, give me Josh Jacobs over TJ Hawkinson. I know he's elite. He's getting to elite status. But at the end of the day, you add a Christian Kirk and an Evan Ingram to sweeten the pot. I won that trade, hands down. That's my I told you so. Now, Sheelor, what did you have to say?
So, listen, Zamir White is still coming, y'all. Delayed is not denied. If he's on free agency in your leagues, go get him. The guy is the real deal. Because if you see Josh Jacobs roll out, because Oakland's smart and they're not going to pay the bag on running backs, we know second contracts, they're not doing it. You can see the literal takeoff of Zamir White. You can probably grab him for a third-round pick, and you might can grab him in free agency in leagues that I'm not in. But
I'm not saying don't grab Zamir White.
Still grab him.
I'm not saying don't grab Zamir White, but what I'm saying is this is brought to you by the makers of Davis Mills for President.
Amen. Amen. Hey, Davis right good as a rookie.
That's right. This guy that's telling you about party is telling you about Davis Mills.
In a minute. Tommy, do you have another I told you so?
I do. I actually do, but you made me forget because I didn't write it down because you said go to Sheelor first and then come back to me.
I'm ready.
All right, Sheelor, who's your next I told you so?
Tony Pollard, baby. All my folks out here in Cowboy land that just love them some Zeke. I kept saying Tony Pollard's coming. I know that he got the contract, but Tony Pollard's coming. And sure enough, Tony Pollard came on through. You could have acquired him for a second-round pick in many leagues last year. He finishes as RB8 on the season, and he is the lightning to, Zeke. We don't even call him Thunder anymore. He's more like a growl, right? So he is literally the ignition to that whole thing. When he goes out in that playoff game, you knew it was over. So speedily recovery for him. Hope that he gets up and running sooner rather than later. I think this actually works in the Cowboys' favor because with him being hurt now, I can see him actually returning back on more of a team-friendly deal. But this guy's the real deal. You see him electric. 12 touchdowns, 9 on the ground, 3 in the air, 1,000 yards on the ground as a running back, and that's sharing time. If he ever gets the full load, you can see a takeoff. You have a potential top 5 back here. So Tony Pollard is my I told you so part 2.
There you go. Hey, good stuff. And when you look at Tony Pollard, man, had a great season. He had 1,007 yards rushing. He had 9 rushing touchdowns. He had 55 targets, 39 receptions for 371 yards receiving, an additional 3 receiving touchdowns, and he ended as the RB8 in the PPR leagues and standard leagues. Shout out to Tony Pollard. He's going to get the bag, and I'm hoping he leaves Dallas. As a Commanders fan, I do not want to see Tony Pollard twice a year. But yeah, let me get to my I told you so. See, you guys can start to call me the wide receiver whisperer. Okay? My journey started 2 years ago. When I told everybody that Justin Jefferson was going to be the guy, nobody believed me. I was grabbing Justin Jefferson cheap everywhere, grabbing him cheap everywhere. Justin Jefferson, right? Then this year, I said, you know what? Garrett Wilson is the wide receiver 1 in this rookie draft. Everybody looked at me crazy. Everybody was on the Drake London hype. I wasn't, but I am now. Everybody was on Olave. I loved Olave. There's no disputing it, but I'm going to take the bigger guy in Garrett Wilson over Olave. All Garrett Wilson did was he had 1,100 yards, right? And then he's playing with some bum quarterbacks. Who was he playing with? We talking about Joe Flacco. We talking about Zach Wilson, Mike White. When Mike White was on his game, Garrett Wilson was automatically a top 12 wide receiver. Just imagine what he can do with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. So here's his full stats here. He was targeted 147 times. This is a rookie. He caught 83 of those receptions, 1,100 yards, like I said, and 4 receiving touchdowns. He ended the year as the PPR wide receiver 21. Already in Dynasty rankings, they're already ranking this guy as a top 7, top 8 Dynasty wide receiver after year 1. What happens when he actually gets a quarterback? He's going to skyrocket into the top 7 conversation. Yes, I said top 7. And when he gets that top 7 consideration next year, I'm going to come back with part 2 of I told you so about Garrett Wilson. When I tell you guys a wide receiver is wide receiver 1 in the rookie draft, y'all better start listening to me. I told y'all to go ahead and draft this guy top 3. I drafted him top 3. Everywhere, and he has yielded fruit for me. I have so many Garrett Wilson shares, and I'm going to continue to acquire more. I told you so. Tommy?
I told you so. I'm sorry. I had to do another twofer. So I was right about both of these guys. They play for the same team, same position. DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I told everybody, I said, I do not trust DeAndre Swift. I said, I don't trust his injury status, and I don't trust the fact that he didn't get the goal line carries for the most part. And I told everybody, I said, hey, grab Jamal Williams. He's a great backup. You can get him late, super late, and this guy is always involved. And with DeAndre Swift always being hurt, Jamal Williams gets a lot of run. That's a lot of burn for a backup running back that you can pick up super late. And even when DeAndre Swift is playing, he still gets PT. What an awesome backup to have. So I was telling Emmanuel that during that draft last year, I said, hey man, I said, look out for Jamal Williams where you can get him because you can get him late. And the guy's playing. He's literally on the field. So you can get not only a cuff, but you can get a guy that's actually getting points that you can count on in a flex or bye week or whatever the case may be. And I just do not trust DeAndre Swift as far as his health goes. I mean, he might be able to put it together in 1 year, but I just don't trust. I didn't trust. And it's not that I don't like DeAndre Swift. He's a great running back, great prospect. I just didn't like the fact that he was going as a top 5 back. He was going in the second round last year. I'm like, if you in startups now, when we're drafting now, he ain't going in the second round no more. People don't see him the same way as they saw him before last year. And I think they're starting to see him or value him about where he needs to be. He should be going late 3rd, maybe early 4th round, and even sometimes in the 5th. 5th is great value, but I think that's about where he should be. 2nd round, way too high for DeAndre Swift. Way too high.
Now I feel you. I don't trust. I don't trust Swift anymore. But like you mentioned, man, Jamal Williams had 17 rushing touchdowns. Was that not the lead in the NFL? I'm not sure. 17 rushing touchdowns. He was 7th in standard leagues, and he was running back 13, right outside of the RB1 category in PPR leagues. And this is a guy that didn't catch a lot of passes. All he did was score touchdowns. 17 rushing touchdowns. The question is, Jamal Williams is a free agent. Is he going to get the bag? That's the question. No. Sheelor, do you think that Jamal Williams gets the bag? And if he does, what team do you see can bring in Jamal Williams and let's say it fits what he does best?
So here's the deal. Jamal Williams should not get the bag. Not get the bag. He reminds me of the year we saw with Mr. Blunt back in the day, where he went crazy with New England, just scoring touchdowns from 1 yard and 2 yard out. This is a loaded running back class. Anybody that's paying big money on a part-time back is missing it. The only backs that really should get paid this offseason are Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. Anybody else should not get the bag. They should get a team-friendly deal. Jamal Williams' best bet is to re-sign with Detroit and to go ahead on and continue to operate in that particular role. That would be the way that I would kind of run with it. He did help me in a lot of leagues because I did have him as an RB2, and he was just touchdown or bust in most weeks. But I was cool with it because most weeks, guess what? He got in the end zone. So I ain't mad at that. Shout out to him for what he did for me this year. But getting the bag, nah.
All right. I feel you. I mean, I got a rule that you don't pay running backs and you draft a running back every 2 years. That's my rule. So if I'm going to stick to my rule by not paying a running back, especially when they're not an elite guy, like a bell cow or a guy that has special talents in terms of receiving and rushing. But I do think I would like to see him on a team like the Titans. Why not? $5 million.
Don't bring Mr. 27 about to be 28 to us. We already got a 28.
You say no. Nope. I say yes, because he fits what you guys like to do. Let's not act like Derrick Henry is just the healthiest guy. But anyways, I digress. So let me go ahead and get into the I was wrong about ... So I was wrong about 3 guys. I'm gonna knock my 3 guys out the way, and I'm gonna pass the mic over. So I was wrong about Dalton Schultz in the aspect that I thought he was going to be consistent. When it was all said and done, he had a decent season in a down tight end year. He was tight end 11. And 12 in standard. He didn't really perform like I wanted him to. He digressed a lot. He regressed a lot. He had 104 targets in 2021 and then ended up with 89 targets in 2022. He went from 78 receptions to 57 receptions, and then he went from 808 yards to 577 yards, and he went from 8 touchdowns to 5 touchdowns. When it's all said and done, he went from tight end 3 to tight end 11. Don't let these numbers fool you with tight ends. Dalton Schultz did not have a good season. And he's the one tight end that I'm trying to sell in Dynasty leagues right now. He's a sell. I'm trying to get rid of this guy because he's a free agent. And I see the Dallas Cowboys going Jake Ferguson. And I don't know who gets Dalton Schultz. That's the thing. And if he ends up in the wrong situation, he becomes Austin Hooper all over again. The other 2 guys that I was wrong about this year was Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore. Rashad Bateman, he got hurt, and even when Rashad Bateman was alive, he wasn't performing to the Rashad Bateman that I wanted. There were leagues where I took Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore as late to mid guys to where I felt like these guys were going to come in and be wide receiver twos. I didn't even need him to be wide receiver ones. I needed him to be wide receiver twos, and he couldn't do that. There's still hope for Elijah Moore. This is his last year, especially if they get an improved quarterback. If he does not improve, I'm out on Elijah Moore. I'm almost out on Bateman, but I'm still buying now that the value is low. Those are my I was wrong about. Tommy, who was you wrong about?
I was wrong. Okay, so the most epic person I was wrong on is a guy named De'Ami Brown. He played for the Commanders. I was high on this guy. I mean, I was like, listen, I saw him in college, and I'm like, this guy is, doing all these wonderful things. And I'm like, and then when he got drafted late, I was like, man, third round. I think it was third rounder, right? Something like that.
Yep.
Third round.
And I was like, man, they're sleeping on his talent, And man, it just never panned out for me. Listen, I traded, man, one league. Now I got Julio Jones in the deal too, but I traded a first rounder. All the Sheelor to.
That was me. Thank you.
Oh man,
my man, the real MVP.
Listen, I'm a person that believes in my convictions, and that was one. And listen, this year I have buried damn. It's over. It's not gonna happen. I understand it. I'll give you another one. Naheem Hines. Naheem Hines. I listened to his coach. His coach said, Frank Wright said, hey, he said over the summer, he said, hey, he said, I'm not saying anything, but if I had a fantasy team, I'd draft Naheem Hines. And that sent me to the moon right there. I was like, oh man, Naheem Hines is going to do all these wonderful things. Naheem Hines laid an egg. I mean, it was so bad. I mean, he had like his worst year ever. I mean, he just proved to us that it was like, it was complete garbage. I mean, he won't even, I'm not even sure he plays next year after this season.
Look at his numbers, bro. RB 57. 57, baby.
And this guy had opportunities, man. Listen, Zach Moss went over there and actually got some burn with the Colts, and that other dude that ain't no good got some burn with the Colts. It was really bad. Now everybody had a down season over there, but Naheem Hines he just wasn't it, and it's over. It's over for Naheem. He can't return. And that's I was wrong on. I was wrong on those guys.
Sheelor, what about you, man?
All right, here we go, y'all. I'm gonna make this easy for y'all. I was wrong about just about everything. All three of my guys are coming from the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr. Oh, Derek Carr is about to be phenomenal, y'all. I mean, he about to do his thing, y'all. He got Tay Adams out here. He about to do his thing. And that Derek Carr was tragic. I mean, every game I'm just like, come on, man, Derek, do it. They got good matchups. They playing against bad defenses. Guess what? Derek Carr don't care. He can come out there and throw some picks. Then he got games where he stopped even throwing it to Devontae. I was like, man, this dude right here. So, Derek Carr, one. Part of the reason he was so trash is because Darren Waller is brittle.
He died 2 years ago. Y'all just catching up.
Athletic freak, got all this thing going on. What's interesting about Mr. Waller is literally the games he played, he put up decent numbers. But you got this massive gap of games where he's just not on the field no more. And they don't know what's wrong. They ain't telling you what's wrong. They just say he's not playing. So I don't know what was going on with Darren Waller. But it's wrong there. And then to cap it all off, Josh Jacobs. And you bring in Josh McDaniels, the New England coach, who don't care about a running back, who doesn't feature running backs. You drafted Zamir White. You bring in a Bolden. Hey, this about to be a running back by committee. Nah, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to run Josh Jacobs till the wheels fall off. I was wrong about the whole Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm going to tell you what, Josh McDaniels, I'm going to tell you what, man, if I catch him in the street, man, it's going to be something with it, man. I don't like that dude, man. But he on last. This is last year, man. He better make something shake over there when he trade Derek Carr. But I was wrong. All three of them. Josh Jacobs outperformed my expectations. Darren Waller couldn't stay on the field, and Derek Carr, man, Derek Carr better, man. Like I said, man, good luck, man. I was wrong. Okay, that's it.
Hey,
we should
but
have a
here's
whole
the funny
episode
thing
on
about
Derek Carr.
Sheelor being wrong. So Sheelor told me, man, I got Derek Carr, man, I got Waller, and I got Devontae Adams. He said, the whole
triple stack,
Trinity.
man. Triple stack.
I said, whoa.
Said the Father. Yeah, the Holy Trinity of Oakland, man. I was ready.
Boy, were we wrong, man.
Man.
All right, let's get into the last segment of the show tonight, man. For those of you guys that are still on the live, you guys are in for a treat. This is about to be the last debate before we say deuces. So we were talking earlier. We were all having lunch at our respective places. And look, this is a debate about two backup quarterbacks. And I'm telling you guys are going to get a kick out of this. So we got Sheelor, and then we got a Razman in the building. And Sheelor is going to be Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
And Razman is going to be Andy Dalton, right?
I'm famous,
We are
baby.
at a barbershop right now. And we're just telling stories. So obviously, Jameis Winston has his kids in the barbershop, and then Andy Dalton got his kids in the barbershop. Everybody's getting chopped up. And here are these two old men right now. If their careers ended now, they're talking about who was better. So, Jameis, do you want to go first, or Andy, do you want to go first?
Man, I got this.
All right.
In the draft, I went number one, baby. Number one pick. I got paid, baby. I don't care. I could buy all the crabs I want to buy. I'm serious business now. I'm doing everything I need to do. I mean, we're throwing up signs. Don't worry about me talking in front of the media and nothing like that. I need to work on that. But you know what? I was successful. Okay? I got 30 touchdown seasons. Don't worry about the 30 picks that I threw with it. But I got a 30 touchdown season. I got a 5,000-yard season. And guess what, y'all? I did that all by not being able to see. I got my contacts in. I got my vision set up. And I'm ready for the next opportunity. I ain't hanging up nothing. And I'm going to tell you what. Send me to your franchise. Tampa Bay, come holler at your boy. Tom is gone. Bring famous Jameis back to the Bay. And let's go ahead and make this thing shake. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, sock to the moon. I might throw a pick. But guess what? Y'all know y'all going to the Pro Bowl. Go ahead, little BB gun. Let me hit a BB gun. Let me hit a
Jameis Winston, shut up. You're one of the worst one overall picks ever. What did you do with it? You just disappointed everybody. You were a big disappointment. No one likes you. You crabhead looking self. Let me tell you something else. Me, I got drafted in the second round, baby. Second round. And I've outperformed you. Yeah.
Listen, dog. Listen.
How many times have you been to the playoffs?
AJ Green made you, bro.
How many times have you been to the playoffs?
You.
And I beat you out this year, too. Trash behind.
Bro.
They wouldn't even let you dress.
Bro. That was race. I don't want to hear about it, man.
They wouldn't even let you dress.
They wouldn't try and let me cook, man. That's all good, though. Can't lose your job due to injury, man. That hurt my soul, man.
I'm a white guy and I have more rushing touchdowns than you. I'm a white guy and I have more rushing touchdowns than you. You are so unathletic. Trash. How many times have you been to the Pro Bowl?
Hey, man, let me talk about you, man. I heard
I got drafted in 2011 and your career's over already.
What happened to you in the playoffs? Let me read that stat line.
It doesn't matter. I got there.
6 interceptions.
I got there, baby.
1 touchdown, 6 interceptions. So you're the reason y'all got
5 times. 5 times in the playoffs.
0-5. 0-5.
You? What's your record?
0-5. Hey, baby, I'm 0 for 0, baby.
Exactly.
I'm 0 for 0, baby.
Oh, you win. You win. You just didn't do anything.
Look, don't worry about it. 0 for 0, baby. We good.
Appearance? Oh, how many Pro Bowls?
Man, don't worry about
Mr.
that,
One
man.
Overall.
Hey, I got 5,000 yards. I got 5K,
Trash.
baby. Hey, and I got that first round pick money. Ballin'.
You did.
Ballin'.
How many second contracts did you sign with teams?
Hey, don't worry about that, man.
Ah,
Just know I'm getting the third one because you stuck it up so bad in New Orleans that I'll be able to get another starting job next year just because of how bad you were. And take that BB gun
they
and go on that
wouldn't let
barbershop,
you
man. What you doing
dress.
down here, Doc?
They would not let you dress. James Winston, you was healthy, and I was playing trash. You're not even 30 yet.
Okay.
Jeez.
I mean, I still got fuel in the tank,
in your 20s.
I've been over here eating my Wheaties, eating my crab legs. I'm ready to go, baby. We good. Got these contracts in. Watch what we do this year.
All right, great segment, guys. This was a great segment of two trash quarterbacks just talking in a barbershop, retired, telling their kids how great they were, and how one took his job and the other one wasn't healthy and this and that. But in all seriousness, Sheelor, do you think that Jameis Winston gets a starting job this year?
Listen, I wouldn't have him as my quarterback. You know what I'm saying? But here's the deal. He's fantasy gold. If he goes somewhere that wants to throw the ball, he's literally going to light up your fantasy boards. And that's really what I'm looking at. I joke about this, but in all seriousness, Tampa Bay doesn't have a high first-round pick. Who else are they going to bring in that has a better rapport with their two Pro Bowl receivers than Jameis Winston? Bringing him back on a team-friendly deal and being able to actually have the chemistry, knowing that they have offensive line issues and everything else. I think he learned some things under Sean Payton. One of the things that I think a lot of people negate is the year before he got hurt, he actually had about 14 touchdowns and 3 picks. He was actually taking care of the ball. And that was after he actually found out, hey, I had some vision issues. So I would often see Jameis squinting on the field in Tampa Bay. So I think that's the real thing. I think he still has a big league arm. I think he's one of the top 32 passers that can possibly be in the league. But if he got in the right situation, I think he can definitely, slide in. So he's someone that I would definitely buy low. But definitely believe that there is some real talent there. You can't deny that.
Okay. We'll go to Tommy. Tommy, do you think that Andy Dalton gets a starting job this year?
No, I do not believe that Andy Dalton gets, because I'm just being honest. No, I don't believe Andy Dalton gets a starting job. I do believe Andy Dalton gets a backup job. I think he was serviceable in New Orleans. I think that he showed he had more left than what most of us thought. And also speaking on Jameis, I actually believe that Blaine Gabbert is a better prospect for Tampa Bay than Jameis is. I mean, they've seen the Jameis situation before. They've seen the Jameis show. And, Jameis would almost win you a game, and he'd lose it for you, So they already know that. I would go the Blaine Gabbert route because if you're going to lose, you might as well lose with personnel that's already been on the team, and you give a real look at Jameis at Blaine and Trask. Yeah, I would do that before I would go down the Jameis route again. Jameis was just, but I do think if Jameis gets a shot, it'll be in Arizona, not in Tampa.
That's fair. Hey, my Hollywood Brown shares would love Jameis in Arizona. So the final word, I think Jameis has a chance to get a job. But look, here's my whole thing with quarterbacks. They're all the same. I don't trust none of them. If Geno Smith can be respected after 9 years of doing nothing, if a guy like Tannehill can go to the Titans and revive his career, look, there's hope for any quarterback in the league. Look, if your kids are out there and they want to play quarterback position, you can only have one quarterback on the field at one time, right? But you got to keep working at your craft. And eventually, with the right coach and the right system, a quarterback can succeed. We talk about, you need a quarterback to win a Super Bowl and this. Yeah, quarterbacks are important, but I've seen defenses actually win Super Bowls. When Peyton Manning won that last one, it wasn't Peyton Manning, okay? He was carried, right? This guy was in a wheelchair by the time he got to that game. But his team was able to will him to a win. Another one, Stafford. Stafford wasn't the reason they won that Super Bowl. He was the reason they got to the Super Bowl, but he was not the reason they won the Super Bowl. So you're starting to see the NFL shift towards team ball. Yes, you need a legit quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. Like, but how many Patrick Mahomes are there? So all these other quarterbacks that are vets, all these different rookies that are not succeeding, look, just keep grinding. Eventually you get your chance. Like we see guys like Taylor Heineke and Brock Purdy. We see these stories pop up every single time. It's all about being in the right system with the right coach. These quarterbacks can have success. These quarterbacks can win a Super Bowl even without being an elite arm or an elite talent. It just takes everything has to go perfect. That's my take on all these quarterbacks. Sheelor, what you got?
No, I was just saying, you asked about that Patrick Mahomes. How many Patrick Mahomes are there? There's one. And what was crazy was even the Super Bowl he won, he didn't have his best stat line.
Thank you.
So I think it goes a long way. When you get to those games, when you get to Super Bowls, a lot of times you're not seeing quarterbacks light it up anymore. It's the defenses that are really making those key plays. Even the last Super Bowl we saw that was a light up game, which was probably your Eagles and Patriots Super Bowl. The key defensive play in that game literally was a strip fumble on Tom Brady. And they were going back and forth. But defense is a big part of everything that's going on. So definitely concur with you on that.
Well, awesome, man. This was a great show. First episode of Dynasty Overload, a fantasy football podcast. This is your guy, Manny. We got Razman in the building, and we got Sheelor down at the bottom. We are your hosts. And Tommy, anything you wanted to say? Where can the people find you? Sheelor, then we'll go ahead and close it out.
Oh, listen, you can find me here. If you're looking for me, look for me here. That's where I'm going to be at on our Dynasty podcast. Let's go.
You can find me 3D Sheelor on Twitter, and definitely here on the Dynasty Overload podcast. Lots of great content coming in for you. Thanks for hanging out with us for episode 1. Manny?
So you guys can find me. You guys can find me at Manny Chokuba on Twitter, or you guys can find me on the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. Either or. I'm always talking fantasy or basketball or whatever. It's a buffet table. Show up, grab what you want. And then, so yeah, we're going to be dropping this episode tomorrow morning. For those of you guys got to watch it live, appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Appreciate you guys hanging with us, man. We're going to be doing this more often. I know that Sheelor and Razman will be back tomorrow to bring you a live draft episode. So I will not be a part of that, but I will be in the draft. So we're going to catch you guys on the next episode. We out.
Let's go.
Peace.
Peace.